in the evening time. Blessed evening, everybody. Great to be back here on a wonderful Tuesday. I'm your host, Marley King, also known as Chris Lyon in the herbal world. You're checking something serious. It's a beautiful day out here today, and it's a serious day when we think about what today really means. August 17th, 1887, a wonderful leader, probably one of the most prolific and profound and inspiring leaders since the beginning of time, was born on this particular day, the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey. And we can't give enough thanks and praise for all the work he's put in for Black people near and abroad, and for the world in general, and just to liberate the mind from a mental slavery. So it's something serious. I'd like to start off today with a quick song by the wonderful artist Taurus Riley. If y'all ever heard of him, Taurus Riley, he made a beautiful song called Marcus Garvey, or officially known as Love Created I, and it's a beautiful piece. So let's all go ahead and tune in here real quick. And I want everybody to really listen to the words of this song right here, because it's something so powerful and so moving, and it really establishes a certain frequency. Jumping back onto page of what we be talking about here on Tuesdays with the music, and how the music plays a profound effect on our mental state and emotional state, and it could also play an effect in our physical state as well. But let's keep in mind about this particular song right here, and listen in tune to the lyrics. But here we go. Let's play it.
Blessed love. All you do is trick the brothers, keep them confused. They don't know who to call on in this ironical war. And you tell me of a paradise in the sky, but that's a lie. And you tell me I was born in sin and shame and iniquity when love created I. Look how many prophets tried to open our eyes. You can't fool me. No, no. Look how they're treating us. This new millennium slavery. I see them hiding the chains and skills, beating us daily. And now we're mentally rising to fight with black skin. And a bleaching at the ending, far out and far in. Sins, you tell me
It's not about color, still you refuse to take the pictures out the booth.
I know that's not how we look. Kush.
Yeah, man.
Don't take offense when we show black power. It carries us through. We've been abused. Put yourself in my shoes. And not get me of a paradise in the sky. But that's a lie. Don't tell me I was born in sin and shaken iniquity. The love created I. Look how many prophets tried to open our eyes. You can't fool me. Cut 'em away, cut 'em away, cut 'em away. Oh, oh. Hey. Look how they're treating us. This new millennium slavery. I see them them hiding the chains and skill, beating us daily. And now we mentally poisoned to fight with black skin. And a bleaching at the new thing, far out and far in. Sin, you tell me it's not about color, still you refuse to take the picture of the wall. Oh, all you do is trick the brothers, keep them confused. They don't know who to call on in this spiritual war. So now tell me of a paradise in the sky, that's a lie. Can you tell me I was born in sin and I should be iniquity? Love created I and I. Look how many prophets tried to open our eyes. You can't fool me. Cut 'em away, cut 'em away, cut 'em away. So don't tell me of a paradise in the sky, that's a lie. No, don't tell me I was born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Love created I and I and I. Look how many prophets try to open our eyes. You can't fool me. Cut 'em away, cut 'em away, cut 'em away. You can't fool me. No, no. You can't fool me. No, no.
Yes, yes, yes. A serious piece right there by my brethren Taurus Riley. Straight fire for your eardrums and for your mental, man. If you listen to the lyrics of that song right there, it's something so deep and so divine, man. It's talking about the wonderful Marcus Garvey. When do you ever hear music being made like this anymore? All the music is so off cadence and the style is so warped. You know, I'm not knocking anybody's creativity or anybody's style or stilo, but we think about how the music differs from a genre like this to what we listen. I mean, I shouldn't even just limit it to genres. We'll talk about generations, you know, because Taurus Riley is an old head, you know. He's not from the generation of my youth, man. You know, it's something serious. They come from a time where music was talking about more of a political atmosphere or talking about more of a positive vibration, and you don't see things like this occurring nowhere in the music industry. If it is, it's far from none, and it's not put on the mainstream airways, which is what majority of the ears and minds are listening to these days. So nonetheless, we just give thanks for beautiful music out there, because I know that there's many of it, and this one in particular was by the Honorable Taurus Riley. Song called Love Created I, man, about the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey. But today is a real special day, man. Like I said, for anybody out there who don't know who the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey is, it's time that we start getting out there and diving deep into the books, man, and doing some more research. You know, let's spend less time on our phones just scrolling around looking at pictures and this, that, and the other, and let's start to do some real knowledge. You know, a lot of youth and a lot of people these days, they lack a history or an identification. You know, we think about the great things that Marcus Garvey was notarized for, and some great words of wisdom that he dropped. One of them happened to be a great quote by the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey: is a people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. You know, so we think about that very deeply. Let's reason a little bit and let that soak in. A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. Let's think about most of us here in America. You know, we could look at America as a melting pot, you know, and there's many different cultures and many different peoples mixed together, you know, from all over the world. There's so much diversity, so much culture and tradition going around. But even when it comes to tradition, it's really not the people's tradition or your tradition. We're talking about a Western tradition that everybody's following. Who are you? Who are your peoples? How can you have an identification like the Native American tribe members, for example, that can claim sovereignty or claim their ancestor or their heritage through knowing their lineage, knowing who their great great grandfather was, what tribe he came from, what particular part of the region did that tribe come from. This is all this stuff goes really deep, and to have knowledge and history of about your peoples, it gives you that sense of empowerment and puts you in that mind frame of unstoppableness and having that pride, man. What it really means to be supreme, or think of the word supremacy, to have that black supremacy, and supremacy is not a bad word. We always put a bad rap on things, even when we think or talk about white supremacy. White supremacy just means that we're looking at um, people of white skin as supreme. And when we say black supremacy, we're looking at people of black or melanated skin, or what we understand as brown skin. Black is a mainstream term, so that's why we dropping it here for folks who don't who understand that lingo rather than the conscious lingo there. But nonetheless, we think about that, man, and we're just talking about looking at ourselves as supreme, so that we have that sense of prestige or empowerment. It's something very deep. Another great quote by the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey was, "Liberate the minds of men, and ultimately you will liberate the bodies of men." Think about that, man. People become stuck in bondage. What Rastafari speak about a lot, being stuck in bondage, man. A mental bondage. It's no longer just a physical one; it's a mental one. And you see how that is, man. When do you ever see black folks doing for self, man? Or doing for their peoples, man? We see all these other nationalities and cultures of people out here coming together and building things up in the neighborhoods, but we never see the black folk coming together like that. And that's because it's been a serious curse or spell put down on the people for many years past. It's something that is so hard to break. When you hear people talk about the 400-year curse, there's something deep and there's something serious. People should really think about that. We think about the grand cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan, and how that spell was broken when Martin Luther King came out there, man. He came out there and did something so serious without having to go out there and throw hands with people, even though so many people wanted to go out there and fight for the freedom, man, fight for the liberation, of the peoples. But nonetheless, the spell was broken when Martin Luther King came through, and it's only been on the rise ever since. After that spell was broken, it's like a new one started to be conjured, and people were blinded and misled. Once the opposition sees talent, they go and they take that particular talent and they put their own twist on it, to make. Let's look at the music industry. We always talk about the music industry, but we're gonna have to go there again to tie in what we're speaking about. We go to the music industry and we see these young cats from impoverished from poverty-stricken neighborhoods and rough sides of town, this, that, and the other, and we see all these folks with talent and potential. So now we start to see all these rich folks out there, or I guess we could call them the white folk, man. Because that's who the down presser is, the oppressor, man. You know, and he came out there and he's seen all of the potential in the people, and he said, "I could use this tool for wicked." We have a lot of tools to use in this world, and the tool is the tool, but the person behind the tool is the one that's going to determine whether or not it's used for good or it's used for bad. Constructive or destructive. We always have dualisms in this world, but we see these cats coming out here and selecting those people and putting a twist on them and having them go portray an image that they created, and therefore turn people against themselves, or create all of this wickedness and all of this violence and murder and senseless killings, man, within the neighborhoods and such. And it all has to come through it audibly, because people can be tricked visually, but I think we've got a little bit past that. You can't. I don't know. It's hard to say. That's kind of a conundrum, because this world nowadays you see so much of both sides. So it's a dualism there. Nonetheless, let's get back on a little track. I could always get off on a little bit of rants here, but it's just such a powerful spirit that's conjured in the air, man, and I love to ride it. My next quote by the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey: "I have no desire to take all black people back to Africa. There are blacks who are no good here and will likewise be no good there." Let's think about that. People might look at that as a derogatory statement, or that, uh-oh, feeling empowered is not bad. Thinking empowerment requires the oppression of another. Yes, exactly. You understand? And that's where the wicked has been installed in the minds of the peoples, man. People want to talk about things become genetics or hereditary. Well, what is that, man? That's just you doing the same thing that your parents did for generations. They probably did the same thing their parents did. Or it's just a wicked piece like that, man. Something serious to think about. Nonetheless, we think about that. Why Marcus Garvey says he doesn't want to take all black people back to Africa? Because there's ones that are no good here and the likewise be no good there. Well, let's think about that, man. It could be looked at as a derogatory statement, but it could also be looked at as constructive as well, man. We start to think a little bit deeper. It's always important to have an open mind and reason, because if we don't have time to reason, then we always have that one track mind. We influenced by what we saw, we influenced by what we heard. We have to let things resonate and settle, and then really make a conscious effort to discern things, find out what is right and what is wrong morally, not what you think, but morally for the universe, a universal law, something serious. But he doesn't want to take people back, everybody back with him, because there'll be no good here or there. And why is that? It's because we got some people that are just caught up in the spell, man. And when you have people caught in the spell, it's kind of hard to break. I find it very reminiscent of myself as I continue to evolve to a certain level of consciousness or awareness of myself and the world around me. I find that I'm shedding more and more people. It's pretty much down to me and maybe less than a handful of people now that I came up with. I can't even keep them around me because I've evolved past them, and the vibration shows. When somebody comes around and they're still on something wicked and they see the positive movement that I came from, it's a battle of good and evil. And that even reflects if you go to see a friend out in public. Maybe he may be so involved in the wicked in the streets and things of that nature, caught up and influenced by the music that's being pumped out here, that he's going to to be vibrating so heavily on the opposite side of the spectrum that he cannot gravitate with you. We talked about this weeks ago about the frequency, how when you're changing the radio station and you go from one state into the next, and you start to see how the radio station changes. It's no longer Power 92 or WGCI and things like that. I'm just talking to radio stations out this way. It starts to change up once you cross state lines or travel into a different area where another frequency is trying to ride that same frequency, right? Or excuse me, another station is trying to ride that same frequency right there, and they just don't happen like that. Our next quote by the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey: "Chance has never yet satisfied the hope of a suffering people." another another deep piece as well to think about. Our next one: "If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life." And it's so true. You think about that, man. We have to be the ones to do for self. The one of many things the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey would always preach is uplift the mighty black race, man, and do for self, man. Come out there and create an industry. Like I said, look at all these other nationalities out there, how they can come together and make a business. You think about the Mexicans, and they maybe have their stores, and they maybe have their crews that work on the farms and landscaping and construction and things of that nature. You see white folks, owning everything, with money hanging out the pockets, man. And you see all these other different nationalities doing that, and they're able to get up there because they come together and they embrace. But without without people having when you break a person down so much mentally, you can deprave them or trick them into doing anything. One thing that George Bush said, and George H.W. Bush said this roughly around 2001, and he got this from the book called Mein Kampf, which was written by Adolf Hitler. And in the book it says you tell somebody a lie over and over and over again, and eventually it becomes the truth. And when George Bush repeated that, I remember watching that clip of him repeating that over and over again, man. And the people just laughed at it, like it was nonsensical, like it was nothing, like he was just joking and having fun. But these are the people in positions of power, and when you reach this level of prestige, other people understand what you're saying, and you really have the power of the hidden hand within you. So you can go out there and trick many people just by telling people a lie over and over again. If I constantly tell you that the sky is red, eventually one day you're gonna believe it, because I've told you it over and over and over again. It's just how it works, man. It's a serious universal law right there as well. And Marcus Garvey was such a powerful figure out there. He did so many great things. One of the great things that he did in the early 1900s was create the UNIA, the Universal. Let me remember it off the top of my head. Maybe I got it written down right here. The Universal Negro Improvement Association. You see, and when he created this, he also created along with it the Black Star shipping fleet. He wasn't the best businessman in the world, so he made a couple of errors that landed him in some hot water. Which is why he wound up doing some jail time. I believe he did 5 years. But he put together the first black shipping line, for blacks to reap all of the benefits right there. You know, a black owned company in a sense. You know, a very powerful move, and went along with all of his teachings. You know, he was the one who went out there, one of the first people to be the spokesperson for black people, man, to empower them, to bring them up, to uplift them on another level. And you see many other cultures start to use his philosophies. You know, a very deep philosopher he was, and we see a lot of people in Rastafari um, looking at Marcus Garvey as the foundation, and it's so serious. It's such a truth, man. The Honorable Walter Rodney, another great political activist out of Jamaica. He was following the teachings of Marcus Garvey as well. You know, Marcus Garvey said, "Look for me in the whirlwinds." Uh, and what he meant by that was that his teachings are going to be repped all around him. He may not be here, but listen for his teachings. Look for his teachings. Look at the things that's built up. Look at the schools built. Look at look at the businesses made over here. Look at the self empowerment going on. You know, we've yet to see that on a grand level, and I think it's so unfortunate. I blame a lot of different things for that, but it's time we stop blaming people and sitting back and just talking about this all the time, because we could talk such a strong game, but it's important that we get out there as an individual and go out there and start to do these things. If we're in positions of power, if we have financial prestige, we need to go out there and use that financial gain in order to put on for our peoples, man. I see a lot of folks down in Jamaica when it comes to Rastafari. They built the Haile Selassie school out there, and many Rasta are out there making plenty song and plenty money, but you don't see man coming over there and keeping up with the school, building up the school. Why is it that the Catholics have these big beautiful churches that are always maintained and taken care of? You see the Muslim with the golden dome on top of the mosque. You know, you see the Buddhist temple with elegant shrines full of gold and all these other artifacts and beautiful art pieces, spiritual meanings as well. But you don't see the Rastafari have nothing like that. And why is that, man? Because everybody uses the red, green, and gold, the Lion of Judah, Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey, and they put on their big suit and look for the biggest patch and the biggest beads around the neck and talk a good game, but you don't ever see people out there putting in work like that. So it's important. I encourage everybody out there, man. We talk a good game all the time online, but it's important to get out there and start doing things, man. Go out there and use myself as an example. I like to lead by example. I'm out there building. I built up a farm over the course of 3 years on a tenth of an acre lot where 6 houses used to be. Built up something really beautiful for the community. The vibration is so dead around there, though, that it's unfortunate that it's not being utilized to its fullest potential by the residents of the community. This is what Marcus Garvey said: "Up, you mighty black race, man." He wanted to uplift the spirit, you know. If we're running around here with with a nonsensical mind state where we're where we're constantly in mental bondage, you know, never working for self, never thinking about doing for self. We're always thinking about doing for somebody else, and we sit around and complain all the time. We need to get out there and get some boots on the ground, put your funds together, create some things with some like minds, and don't be so quick to eat another brother or sister's lunch, man. You know, keep an open mind, listen to ideologies, and therefore we can create something deep and something serious, man. Um, Nonetheless, man, it was a wonderful day to celebrate the blessed Earth Strong and Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey, born August 17th, 1887. We talked about some great things about him. There's many more great things to be said, but we got to get back on track here, because this show is about the music, man. And we always like to dive deep when it comes to particular topics involving the music, because there's so much going on in this world and in the music industry, man. Let me see here, man. Octavia, it's always good to see you, Dr. Ock, man. I'm in an unusual location right now. I'm about to switch up my location and get a little more comfortable here, but we're always going to continue to chop it up and throw some different things in the mix. But um, I had a wonderful experience this past weekend. This pertaining to music and to sound right here. A wonderful experience. So I went out Sunday after the farmers market. You know, I'll be working the farmers market on Sundays, and it's such a nice thing to do. You know, many people come out to see me, and I love to see new people and see familiar faces and always have a great conversation, man. You know, conversation is very empowering, just to hear different perspectives and to share information as well. You know, all this information wasn't just given to me to hold on for myself. That's being selfish, and that's not part of I and I. You know, it's important that we go out there and we take that message and lesson and spread it to the next person, because the philosophy says each one teach one. You know, how can the knowledge ever get passed down if it's never taught to somebody else? That's the mistake most great great rulers or emperors or kings and queens make, they don't ever prepare a successor, you know. And if you prepare a successor, you have somebody to carry that knowledge on to the next folk, man. It's very important to do that. But nonetheless, I went out to the city after the market on Sunday, and I went up to 63rd and yeah, 63rd Street Beach, which is Jackson Park. So I was up there, man, and it's always crazy to see the mix of vibrations and the different type of activities and things that are going on. You know, you have the Rastafari brethren over here, which that's a big controversy in itself for me and a couple other folks right now, because like I said, we see so many people claiming this, that, and the other, but they never follow the teachings, man. What are they doing, man? They out there causing trouble within each other, you know, fighting amongst each other. That's not what we need, you know. We need more unity, like Queen Latifah say, unity. You know, look at the difference of the music back then in the early '90s compared to the late '90s. You know, I mean, we could bounce around on the timeline all day and pick things out like this just to show you how music started to be warped come the '90s. You know, it started to be used as a sonic weapon, a sound weapon, something serious. Nonetheless, I was up in Jackson Park and we seen, you know, folks over there walked up by the beach. They got all this crazy music pumping, folks drinking at this new establishment that they met right there. And to each their own. You know, I don't judge folks at all, but I do listen and I observe. So, anyways, we walked from there and walked out toward the front of Jackson Park where they have the drummers, you know. And this is probably like the second time I got a chance to see the drummers. The first time was just passing through, but this time I got to really chill and, get into a deep meditation, soaking the vibration. And these guys was out here with all these men and women. Let's not get it misconstrued. Men and women of many different culture and background, and even some youth out there. So that was even more important to see, to see the successors. You know, we're talking about people to carry it on, because the drumming that's been going on out there in Jackson Park has been going on for had to be 50 plus years, you know. So think about these cats out there playing the drums with the elders, and now they're the elders. Now they have to be the ones to pass that down to somebody else. And it seemed like the generation is so out of tune, man, and technology has really taken over that there is nobody to preserve the tradition or the culture. No more. And it's so unfortunate to see that. Nonetheless, we get out there and I'm just chilling, man, listening to the vibration of the drums. They got the congos, they got the djembes, they got the bongo drums. They got somebody was out there with a melodica, you know, which is like it's like one of those keyboards that you blow into. You hear a lot of what is it, Pablo something. I forget his name off the top of my head, but he's a nice roots reggae artist from back in the early '70s, and he always played a nice Pablo Moses, I think his name is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he played a nice melodica. And there's so many other instruments that go along with it. People was out there with the tambourines, a couple of different type of tambourines at that. Somebody's out there with a trumpet. Um, I think somebody is out there with a Nyabingi drum, which is something very deep, holds a very powerful sound with it too. But we was just hanging out over there and soaking in the vibration. And the guy that I was with, my elder, he went and walked off to another side of the park, and I sat there and soaked in that vibration, and just to feel those different drum beats coming all through the body, and understanding the origin of the drums, you know, of African and origin, and just to take yourself back into that particular point in time, you know, it's something very deep to really take on that vibration. You start hearing all the drums playing, you hear the when you have 10 or 15 different instruments playing at the same time. I always love to keep an open mind and to be able to allow all those sounds to enter. And I could hear every single one of those different sounds. They all playing a different beat. They all have a different tone, but it was just so beautiful the way all those things were flowing in and out to me, man. You know, they were going in the body and out to the body, and you could feel it. It was like a universal heartbeat all over the body, you know, along with my rhythm, the rhythm of my heartbeat. So a very strong piece out there. It was just very soothing and very spiritual to be out there and to soak in the vibrations of the drum. You know, these drums have been used for many ages, you know, and these are something that needs to be preserved. You know, we're moving into a time where we have more of a digital or an electronic sound, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we always have to preserve where it comes from. All of these instruments that we hear, they didn't come from being made on a computer. They came from being made from a goat skin and a wonderful wood that it was made from, and some other pieces to lock them down and tie them into place. You know, there's so many primitive ways to create these different drums, and all these drums can be tuned to different notes, and you could tighten the skin or loosen the skin to really change up the frequency or the the feeling of the bass that's pumping out, man. Every time you hit the drum, you can hear that low, deep tone, or you can hear that very high note. You know, it's something so deep and something so powerful. I recommend people take a chance if they in the Chicago area, man. Go out on Saturdays and Sundays because they're always out there. Get out there about you can get out there about the time I got, 6 o'clock. It's nice in the evening time, and everything is just really flowing out there, man. A couple of different vibrations, but you could just see how that particular vibration warded off a lot of negativity, man. You know, there's not too much fighting and stuff going on in that particular park. At least I haven't noticed it. Maybe it is on other weekends when it gets rough, but just that vibration that's conjured up by the drums in general is something that you can feel in the air. You know, it's something that becomes not visible, but using that sixth sense, you could feel it. And it's something that a lot of people got to experience. You know, that's why I always love going to a live concert and hearing acoustic music being played. It's such a different vibration than when you're playing, you know, something digital on an audio workstation or things of that nature. So y'all need to get out there to 63rd and Jackson Park over there, the 63rd Street Beach in Jackson Park. Always a nice vibration. Now, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and change up location, but we'll continue the conversation going here, man. And if y'all ain't see, man, I got my cat out here with me today. He making a music of himself right now, but he do that at 3 o'clock in the morning and wake me up. You know, it's not a good vibration. It's something that we have to really look at. All right, excuse me, y'all. Gotta use my hands here. Watch out, Julio. Be a workout sometimes just to maneuver through the crib, you know. But that's how it be. Now we back out into our usual location, our usual settings right now. Yeah, don't be laughing at me. That's contagious. You're gonna laugh and everybody else gonna laugh, but we gotta laugh at ourselves sometimes, you know. But I'll show y'all a little bit of what I've been out here doing as of recent, man. You know, the show kind of changing up pattern and format today, but that's all right. You know, sometimes we gotta preach a little health and wellness at the same time because it goes hand in hand with the music. Because the music is all about mental wellness and spiritual wellness through the form of vibration and frequency. But we also have to think about our physical health at the same time. And what have we been harvesting up as of recent? What has Chris Lyon been harvesting up? Wow, these are some wonderful elderberries right here that are just, well, they're just about dry, but they'll be dried up here probably in another day or so. But some wonderful elderberries. And elderberry is something that grows all around us, man. People just would never know. You see what I'm saying? Elderberries grow all over. You just have to be in tune and know what you're looking for, you know? The Creator puts all of the medicine, all of the food, all of the goodness all around us. We just have to keep our eyes open, you know? Like Marcus Garvey said, man, what is a tree without roots? Yeah, man. So, nonetheless, the elderberries, it's a very popular one nowadays, and everybody trying to get a hold of some elderberry. And elderberry is very good. Yeah, you see it, Octavia. Yeah, man, I'll be out here wild foraging, man. You know, I'm a wild man. They call me Chris Lyon, you know, king of the jungle, man. I'm always out there climbing in the trees, this, that, and the other. Love it. But some good medicine, man. You find it growing all along the railroad tracks right now. Why the railroad tracks? I don't know. I wish I could answer that question to you off rip. But we come out there and we find them growing out there. When you see them in the springtime, they got these beautiful white flowers on them. And it's very, very evident. Almost looks like Queen Anne's lace, if you know what Queen Anne's lace is, or wild carrot. So we find them growing by the railroad tracks. So we find them growing on the edges of tree lines. So before you start going into the forest, you'll see them growing on the edge right there. And the berries are just so prominent. Come the fall time. Well, this is late summer going into fall. So late summer going into the fall time, they start to get real plump and juicy and nice and ripe. And you have to get them in a certain window because the birds like to come out there and get them too, man. You know, I mean, nature knows her medicine. The plants, the animals, everybody knows. Yeah, man. Lion, you overstand. I get it all too often. Yeah, but the elderberries, they're growing all over there. And everybody should get out and get themselves some. A great immune booster. And let me put something out there too, man. You know, people take things with a grain of salt, but get out there and do your research. and then also become a practitioner to understand how it works with yourself. When we think about the elderberries, they got a special property in them, and what they do, look at the color of them. They got a lot of anthocyanins, and anthocyanins is what gives the dark purples and blues and dark deep red colors of these particular fruits and plants that we see out here. And those anthocyanins are a particular type of antioxidant. And when when the elderberries are consumed into the body, they put off like a dye as a marker. Think about yourself when you're getting an MRI or you're getting some type of testing done. They'll put some type of dye into your bloodstream, and it'll show up in a particular. It'll like how am I trying to say it? It'll highlight the particular part of the body that they're trying to get to. Dr. Ak, if you want to, you could probably correct me a little better. I know you probably could, man. The darker the berry, the healthier the juice. You know they say it. You know how they say it, man. And it's a serious thing, man. But with this elderberry, we're lagging out a little bit. But with the elderberry, we start to see when we take it into the body, they like to mark the particular viruses that enter the body as well. And when they mark them, it lets the antibodies know that, hey, indicators. Thank you, thank you. That's a wonderful word to put on there. The indicators. But they like to mark the particular virus that's in the body, and viruses can be very finicky for the body to fight off. You know, it's something that's foreign to them. You know, if you know anything about a virus is not alive. A virus has to have a host to become alive. You know, so it's actually dormant. You know, let's think of like a cicada. I guess you say the cicadas only come out every 65 years or something. They got a long timeline on them, and they got to sit in dormancy. And viruses is pretty much the same thing. When it gets into the body, it looks like a foreign substance. The body doesn't recognize it. So viruses tend to linger a little bit longer. Think about if you have a viral infection or things like the flu or a sinus infection. You know, that thing lingers on for a week or two. Could be rough. You know, that's why we have to make sure we take care of the body and prepare the body, because the body is meant to fight these things off. But if you don't have a good system, if you don't have good systems in the body, and you have to go ahead and reap the consequences of that. So it's important to maintain that wonderful, strong systems throughout the body to go ahead and ward off these particular illnesses. But nonetheless, when the virus is in there, the elderberry likes to mark it. Therefore, it gives a heads up to the antibodies, like, hey, something's in the body right now. It only has RNA, not DNA. It has hijacked the cell DNA to replicate. Man, see, this is why I need to split screen with you, Octavia. You know, I love to have you. You know, we some great minds. We some powerful minds over here. We could definitely knock some people upside the head, man. You know, nonetheless, maybe in a future show we'll go ahead and do a little split screen here. That'll be a real nice piece for the minds, because I know a lot of people listening out there, and when they listen in, they're gonna hear it coming from us. You know, from other people maybe not so much, but when it comes from us, they know it's righteous and they know that it's real. But anyways, the elderberry very powerful for the immune system and just keeping the body and blood right in general. You know, fight off all of the elderberries are in vitro studies, which means in the laboratory, the elderberries have been shown to have a better result on fighting off of the virus and the illness than the vaccination, man. So go out, like I said, go out there and do your research, man. I'm not going to provide sources for anybody. I always like to give people homework because I like to see people working a little more. You know, we have these devices around us, so let's utilize them properly. You know, let's go out there and stop scrolling and let's do a little more research. You know, dive deeper. Not everybody knows everything just because you watch a video or because you read one thing. You have to be very conscious about how you go about it. If you read something, make sure you cite it. Make sure you do a couple other sources to verify that, because nothing is is promised in the cyber world, man. They always put something wicked on there and mislead a lot of people. That's why we see the division going on today, and the mental lapses and the mental slavery that's going on. Something serious. I got to excuse me, man. This thing falling off a little bit. Yeah, man. So nonetheless, we was out there harvesting up some elderberries as of recent. This took a little bit longer to dry. We're going to be making some tinctures. We're going to be making some nice teas out of them. We're going to be packaging them up for syrup. We're going to be making a nice syrup, a nice cough syrup for people to take, man. You know, really good for the youth too, especially the ones who are young and maybe can't take the honey. You know, use some nice cane sugar in there, brew up a really powerful syrup, and they can go ahead and take that elderberry in like that. And it's a very, very effective piece of medicine. If you never used elderberry, you should go out there and try it out, man, because it's something powerful. You know, everybody has to become a practitioner, because nobody can just take my word for things or anybody's word for things. You have to make sure that you go out there and become a patient. You know, become your own doctor and patient. You have to treat yourself. Try some of these different methods out. Let's get back in tune. Um, Especially if we know that all pharmaceuticals are composed of a lot of different medicinal components within these herbs that we go out there and find out. I don't understand why they call it, why they don't call it our first medicine. They always call it alternative medicine. It doesn't make any sense. It should never be an alternative. It should be your first medicine. And then if nothing else if nothing else is working, if you're too far gone, if you come in with stage 4 cancer or some fuck like that, you want to go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and get that taken care of properly. So there's benefits to it. I never try to knock allopathic medicine. I always like to say naturopath is the way to go, but never knock allopathic medicine, because in dire situations it does benefits for us, but it can be very detrimental at the same time. So let's take control of ourselves, man, and get back in tune with Mother Nature. Get out there, do some wild foraging, go spend more time out in nature and such, because they can't control it. Absolutely. You understand, you know? If they, I always have to have a laugh because I see this every single day. My mind is just so in tune with it. But people are people are just so naive to this, man. If when something great and powerful comes out, just like we spoke about with the solfeggio frequencies last week, those 6 particular tones that you could hear, when those are projected out there or they're utilized, they can be used for healing, for therapy. They could be used for change or altering substances or objects, or your mental or your spirit. And when Pope Gregory the First found that out, he went ahead and took that from the people and stashed it down in the Vatican archives after he used it to create the Gregorian chants. You know, so we have to make sure that we that we keep an open mind to a lot of these things and become a practitioner, man. Go out there, do your research, make sure you dive deep. Always verify your stuff with a few different sources, and then let your body be a verifier as well. So none of that's very important. People might be wondering what I'm burning right here as well. So this is a wonderful spiritual object right here, or spiritual smudge rather. And this is called Russian blue sage. So she's not actually a true sage, not of the Salvia genus, but she is of the Lamiaceae or Lamiaceae family, which is the mint family. So all of your different mints like peppermint, spearmint, pineapple mint, catnip or catmint. Um, Shoot, a couple of new ones that we got over here. Hummingbird mint. I seen a grapefruit mint. I seen a strawberry mint. All of those are of the Lamiaceae family. Mentos genus, but Lamiaceae family. So this one in particular, this Russian blue sage, is not actually a true sage. But this is what is found, or even was found, when we speak about our ancients. This was found over in the India region, the Middle East, what we call ancient Mesopotamia, things like Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, Israel, Jerusalem, all of these places like that. This is where this Russian blue sage is found in abundance. And it's funny when you do research on her to try to understand her medicinal benefits or therapeutic benefits. They never have any here in America. But if you go over there to where this is native to, the mint family is great for digestion and immune support. Hey, you in tune, Octavia. We understand each other. We speak the same language. Let's everybody else start to speak the same language. We got to practice what we preach, man. Very important. Yeah, man, it's part of the mint family, but nonetheless, mint family is a great piece for me, man. It's always good for therapeutic. I use it for digestion a lot too, and then I use it for, like, if I have any type of a scratchy throat, so it'd be like my immune system. If I have respiratory issues, I use it for that. If I have a cough, if I got coughing up some things, use a nice mint as a tea, or even go out. This is what I love. This is what I love about Mother Nature. She provides all this stuff around us fresh, so we could just go outside and pluck some of this stuff off of the branch or off of the tree and consume it. And it does so much benefit for our body, just touching it with our biggest organ, our skin, and then consuming it into our body. So we become so much more in tune, and our body recognizes it. And then it becomes it no longer becomes a foreign substance in the body. Like, for example, I gave my uncle a kale salad the other day, and this kale salad opened up his bowels the next morning. You see what I'm saying? And he may have thought that it was so wicked, that it happened to him like that. But look on the other side of the spectrum. It was something that was so beneficial for his body that all of that fiber cleaned them out. And why did it react like that? Because it did what it was supposed to do, but it wasn't. It was a foreign substance to my uncle's body because he wasn't used to consuming that. I don't know when the last time he may have consumed something like that, a nice bitter herb or a bitter green. Bitters are very important. We be bouncing all around on this show, but I hope y'all are following this particular Tuesday. You see, it's a very deep one, a lot of knowledge kicking around. But when we think about consuming these bitters into our body. Why are we supposed to consume bitters? Bitters are necessary in order to regulate our palate. You know, bitters are necessary in order to balance our gut flora, in order to get our digestive tract in line. It's very good for different filters of the body, like your liver or your spleen, your gallbladder, you know, your kidneys. You got to think about these things. You know, it's not just what we tasting. You know, everybody is so caught up in having an indoctrinated palate that when we take things in and it doesn't have salt or sugar in it, it doesn't taste good. You know, what happened to the natural essence of things, the natural flavors of foods? You know, there's natural sugars that flow all through these different veggies and fruits that are out there. Some at different higher levels than others. Others may have more of a bitter profile. And these bitters are, like I said, so important for our body and so important for our brain. Let's think about how the belly works. You know, when the belly is hungry, is it really your belly that's hungry? There's different parasites that live in our belly as well naturally. And these things send signals by way of nerve pulses to the brain that let them know that they are the ones that's hungry. So you ever got caught in a situation where you ate a whole bunch, you ate more than you're supposed to, but you're still hungry? You know, let's always think about the stuff like this. We have to always ask questions. It's important that everybody practices philosophy in this day and age, because if you never ask the questions why, especially to yourself, then you'll be chasing the purple dragon to the end of time, man, you know, and you'll be walking on the wrong foot. It's important that we be mindful of ourselves and of our bodies and what we consume, whether or not it's audibly, mentally, or physically. But like I said, anyway, back on track. So this is a wonderful smudge right here, and I recently wildcrafted her locally. I found a nice patch growing, and it's important that we always plant up perennials as well, so that they can continue to grow back. But she was at peak season when I harvested her up, made some nice smudges, and she has a very spiritual property, cleansing property like the sage. It's very good for cleansing or for purifying a space, you know, giving a wicked vibration, a wicked energy out of a particular place. If you ever had somebody come over with a negative attitude, you had a friend come over, a family member, and they was just had a negative attitude, and they left on the wrong foot, you know, so they came into the house and on a bad note and left on a bad note. And you felt that energy lingering, or you just wanted to cleanse that particular energy up or that particular space because you didn't want that to stick around, because it can affect you and in turn. Just because it's not visual doesn't mean it's not around you. You know, have to keep an open mind to these things. Nonetheless, you would burn something like this, or white sage, which would be her distant cousin. White sage is found in down there in the southwest corners of the United States, like places like New Mexico, Utah, Nevada, or Nevada and Arizona, and even California. So you find the white sage growing all around there. Up here in Northwest Indiana, we have what we call white sage brush, which is not of the sage family. It's actually of the genus Artemisia, which is it's the same genus as mugwort. You know, mugwort's another great herb for the woman body. You know, so nonetheless, we burn this Russian blue sage, also known as Afghan sage. We burn this in order to cleanse up a particular area, a particular space. You know, I even like to bring it around myself sometime, man, when I'm trying to relax. You know, I hit it around my particular points in my body. You know, I always like to get centered like that. It really bring me groundation. I also like to do it outside with my socks off too, man. Really get back in tune with the earth. But we burn this for the same purpose as we do with white sage. Cleans the air. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. You know, I read some reports some years ago about white sage in general having the power to cleanse up, I believe it was 85% of bacteria. 90, I want to say 95, but I might be shooting for the stars right there. But 85% of the bacteria that's in the air in a given space, it cleans up just by burning the sage. You know, think about the power of these aromatic properties. You know, think about the powers when we inhale them as well. You know, that's not saying we're going to be smoking these back to back like a cigar or something, you know, or a cigarette into our lungs and polluting the airspace. No, we're doing a wonderful job of cleansing it up because there's so much bacteria in the air. Think about the inside of your house. I keep a jar of mugwort and wormwood handy. I know you sure do, man. I already know. Octavia, the way you get down, I already know you better than you think, you know? Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. A beautiful Artemisia, you know? Such a wicked way that people like to view the word Artemisia or the goddess Artemis. They always look at her as like the killer of the forest, like she goes around and kills all the animals and stuff like that. But why look at her like that? Let's look at her in the good light. You know, she was the caretaker, the goddess of the forest, goddess of Mother Nature, took care of all the animals, took care of all the plants, took care of the land. You know, we have to understand things in a different light. We have to ask questions. Why are we always told the wicked side of something? I sage about once a week, less if it's been human. Yeah, yeah, man, you understand. I'm burning once a week myself, and it's very important. I got a couple different things that I burn. Things like the white sage. That's always a common one, but I've kind of evolved up out of that. White sage is still one of my favorites. But before we even jump to that, we like to burn this, or people like to burn this Russian blue sage or Afghan sage when the aromatic properties are too pungent or too strong from the white sage. This one is a little bit more subtle than that one. Still got a very similar fragrance, but nonetheless a little more subtle than the white sage. But I'll be burning once a week of these ones right here, man. Good things to wildcraft. I like to burn some Artemisia before sleep, mugwort before sleep. She does a really good thing for me with my dreams. I'll be having some wicked dreams sometimes. About about people shooting me, or things of that nature. I don't know why I have dreams like that, and it's not all the time, because I actually had a prophetic dream the other day where I lost my ID last week when I was in Chicago, and sure enough, I had a dream 4 days later that I found my ID in my house. I woke up in the morning and found my ID sitting right underneath something on my desk. So it was pretty interesting. Dreams can be prophetic in that sense. But nonetheless, I burned the mugwort to enhance my dreams, or to make me more lucid in my dreams. I like to have some type of cognizance when I'm in the dream realm. It's very interesting. So I like to burn it like that. You can also take her as a tea, which is very beneficial as well. I keep her as a tincture as well. If I have any type of respiratory issues going on, I like to take her for the lungs, for the airways. She's very beautiful at that. But you can also smoke her as well. So the Native Americans would use her for what they call vision quest. When you go off on your own, you take what you need for roughly a 2 week span, and you go off and you tobacco, and you bring your mugwort, and some even brought their ganja, their herb with them, and they will go ahead and light that up to go ahead and take away the veil between the physical world and the spiritual world, to bring about more clarity or more lucidity. Something very deep. Dreams, I don't know that. I may have to try that, because my dreams be going ham on me lately. Yeah, you see, we're speaking the same language right there. You know, try it out now. Try it out as a tea. Before sleep. Always important to take it before sleep. And if you burn it before, like I said, I do a double dose. I like to take it as the tea, and I like to burn it as a beautiful smudge. And it does a really wonderful job. Like I said, not just cleaning up the physical part of the air, but also the spirit realm of things, or the airways, we like to say. But I wanted to just say, man, we always touch on the spiritual properties of things, and I think people get spooked by that, or it's foreign to them, or it doesn't resonate with them. It seems like when you talk more physical, or more I don't know the right word, but I'm going to use the word. When you talk more realistic with people, it tends to resonate better with them. Whereas opposed to, if I were to come around and say, oh, burn the white sage to keep the ghosts away, to keep the spirits away, this, that, and the other. Most people, if they're not on that level, they wouldn't understand it. Knowledge is power, man. We need to make sure that we go out there and become a practitioner of things. Just because we learn everything doesn't mean we're not supposed to use it. We have to make sure we use things. What is knowledge without use? It becomes nothing. It's impractical after that. It's lost. Become a waste of time. It's always important that when we're advocating or when we're teaching, that we make sure that the word sound power is correct, because people are going to pick up on certain things that you say or how you say them, and it's going to resonate deeply with many different people. Superstition is usually born from ignorance of truth. It surely is. I think that's how people have been tricked for so many years. Everybody gets, and they use it as such a weapon too. They use superstition as such a weapon. Friday the 13th, why is 13th always a bad? That's always a good omen to me. A lot of great things happen on Friday the 13th, but we tend to acknowledge the bad. Why do we put black cats as something that's so terrible, man? Is it because we're looking at the color black? Is it because of all the association with negativity and black people throughout the ages? We have to think who are the ones that are coming up with these particular phrases or these understandings. Yeah, man, you see, it's a wicked thing, man. And folks out there, man, you have to be open-minded, and you have to keep a sharp mind, because we're in a spiritual war out here. Everybody sees the physical war going on, boots on the ground, tanks on the ground, all over planet Earth. Babylon running wild. America is such a destructive force. You have to understand that as well. But we have to understand, man, that we can't get caught up in not doing the research and not becoming a practitioner of things. That's why I show you guys the elderberries that I got out here, the different sages that I'm burning. We always need to practice mindfulness and Make sure we keep our well-beings in check. You know, if we ever reach a point that we can't learn anymore, where do we go from there? We have to continue to evolve. You know, we hear in Rastafari, man, a lot of people are so stagnant. They've always been, and even when it comes to the Black Power movement, we hear people, you know, talking all the good talk, man. But where's the fight? You know, it's always a good talk. We can only sit around and talk for so much. You know, we can only sit around and talk for so long. But we have to get up and we have to do things, man. We have to get out there. There's different situations in life that may come about that may cause you to have an epiphany like this. All of my cats were black and they were very protective like dogs. Almost black is actually a color of protection. Yeah, look, man, we think about cleansing stones or healing stones, things like the black tourmaline or the organite, and there's another one. What the heck is it, man? It's onyx is kind of black, I guess you'd say, but nonetheless, black tourmaline, man. You know, that's one of the great, powerful things for a lot of these radiations or frequencies coming off of the phone. You know, it's good to take that and transmute it and to warp it into something better. You know, change that energy, change that frequency. You know, crystals are always a nice thing. Obsidian, thank you. That's the next one I was thinking about. I think I said organite. I meant to say obsidian. That's what I meant to say. Something serious, man. You know, there's always a negative connotation put with the color black or the word black. And why is it always like that, man? You know, if you look at the color black, black takes in every single color. You know, it could put out every single color. Well, what about white, man? You see, we have to always pose these questions to ourselves. Sometimes it takes somebody else to bring that question to you to make you think a little bit deeper about things. But it's always important that these questions are posed so that we could take things to another level so we don't become stagnant. Once somebody says that they know everything, where can you go from there? You've already reached the pinnacle. It seems like when you reach the pinnacle, the only place you can go is down. You know, so we have to make sure that we always keep the knowledge resonating, man. And everybody needs to keep learning and to keep doing the studies. We see a lot of Rastafari brethren, you know, who get caught up in all of the old world stuff, but we have to continue to elevate. You know, we live in a society where we have to get up and we have to work, man, because that's what it takes to survive in the surroundings that you live in. You know, it'll be different if we lived in another part of the world where, you know, you have some type of sovereignty like that, but you don't have sovereignty until you have an identification. And it's important that we find a way to identify with who we are. And Rastafari is a liberty for that, man. You know. Hey man, it's starting to get dark out here this evening time. It's been a wonderful show this evening time too. I've been having some great conversation in the chat with my girl Octavia right there. She always has some great things to say, man, and always some great things to chime in with, man. Like I said, looking forward to having her on the show one day where we can go back to back because we got a lot to bring. White reflects all colors because it encompasses. Look, man, you see, we always need this extra perspective right here from Dr. Ox. She always make a lot of sense too. Learn that on the Magic School Bus. Look, and you see how all this stuff was embedded into the cartoons, you know, and to the things that we watched growing up. But we were too naive. We were too. I don't think we was taught to understand these messages. Look at Walt Disney, man. Walt Disney created a lot of hidden messages inside of his cartoon shows, man. You know, and inside of all of his motion pictures, there was a lot of hidden messages in there, man. Go out and do some research, and you'll see some things hidden in there, hidden in plain sight. It's definitely a trip because I can think of quite a bit of them right now. Nonetheless, man, it's been a heck of a day, man. A wonderful day for myself. Been celebrating the Blessed Earth Strong of the Honorable Mosiah Marcus Garvey. After this, I go fix me up a nice plate full of something nice, and maybe we'll do something ital today. No salt, man. Straight up roots, you know. As September and the fall months come along and the winter time starts to begin, you know, I always like to start making up my roots curry, you know. Start to get down with my coconut milk and my chocho and my carrot and potato and yam and you name it, you know, all my roots right there. Some garlic. My goodness, it becomes something so delicious, you know. I always got to eat to live, not live to eat, man. You see a lot of people make mistakes like that, you know. Get out there and eat to live. Eat for the body. Don't eat for the palate. Eat for the body. You know, let's break away from that indoctrination, whether or not it's mental, spiritual, or physical. Something deep, man. You know, we always like to show the shirt right here. It says, starve the ego and feed the soul. You know, something so deep, man. put that pride to the side, man, and learn something, because we always got some wonderful knowledge to drop, man. We hit about the 1 hour mark here, and I know my belly touching my back, so it's about time for me to jump off of this platform for this evening time. It was a little different with just having me on here this evening time, but I hope y'all got a heap of knowledge dropped on you, because it was a wonderful show for myself. And y'all enjoy the rest of the evening time, enjoy the rest of the week. Tune into Rock True Science as it come next week. You know, it's gonna be something serious next Tuesday, man. Always got something to drop, some fat to drop on your head. I missed the show this week, just because I've been ripping and running, trying to put things together and balance out my schedule just so I can get to the show here for 7 o'clock. But nonetheless, I'll go back and rewatch it, and I encourage y'all to do the same thing. Put some fat on your heads, man. Always got to encourage each other to learn more. Can never learn enough, you know? You never stop learning. They always say once you reach a certain age in life that you stop learning, but you never stop learning in this world, man. Uplift yourself, man. Uplift your mind and uplift your vibration. Keep it serious, man. Overstand the battle of good and evil that's going on out here. The sound wars, you know, the physical war, the mental war, the spiritual war. It's all going on. You could see it. And until next Tuesday, man, give thanks to y'all tuning in, man. Chris Lyon, Marley King. You know the name. Till next time, man. Peace.